Consistent with its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I have decided that France will recognise the State of Palestine. I will make this solemn announcement before the United Nations General Assembly this coming September.
Now, Macron cannot become, his term runs out in 2 years, I believe. He cannot be president again, at least not for a consecutive term. Is he also positioning himself for the future as a peacemaker?
Well, I think Macron is quite young, so definitely, and is ambitious. So definitely, he wants to play a role in the future, and it will be a political role, I think. Whether that could be running for presidency in 2032.
As a supporter of the two-state solution, Macron has repeatedly defended the merits of his approach for the Palestinians, but also for the Israelis.
I believe in the future of a two-state solution as the basis for a regional security architecture that will allow Israel to live in peace and security with its neighbours. I believe in a need to unite our voices in Paris, London and everywhere else to recognise a state of Palestine and initiate this political dynamic, which is the only one consistent with the prospect of peace.
The UK has not yet committed either way to the French president's invitation, but both the US and Israel are firmly opposed to such a move. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denounced it as a reward for terror.
We strongly condemn President Macron's decision to recognize a Palestinian state next to Tel Aviv in the wake of the October 7th massacre. Such a move rewards terror and risks creating another Iranian proxy, just as Gaza became.
The Palestinian Vice President, however, hailed Emmanuel Macron's announcement, as did Palestinians living in the West Bank.
This is a very important step, and we have been waiting for it for a long time. We thank the Republic of France for this decision, and we hope it translates into action.
In total, 147 countries recognize the State of Palestine. This number has been growing. Last year, 9 countries, including Spain, Norway and Ireland, formally recognised the state.
And in what French President Emmanuel Macron says is in response to the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, France has become the first G7 country and biggest EU member to say it will formally recognise Palestinian statehood. So far, around 140 countries have done so, but most Western states have not, saying that Israel and the Palestinians need to come to an agreement first.
Who are you with?
Scripps News.
Oh, good.
Counterproductive to France, for France to say that they would recognize the Palestinian state. Macron said that yesterday.
Look, he's a different kind of a guy. He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news: what he says doesn't matter. You know, it's not going to change it. Well, he made a statement. France, Macron. His statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy, I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight.
The Israeli Prime Minister has announced he's nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize during a meeting in Washington, D.C. The White House hosting Benjamin Netanyahu as they push for a ceasefire deal with Hamas in Gaza. Our US correspondent Rob Scott has the details.
This is the third time in 6 months the President and the Prime Minister have met, but the first since the US joined Israel's strikes on Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu sitting down for dinner with Donald Trump at the White House, the pair basking in the shared glory of the recent bombing of Tehran's nuclear facilities.
They took a big drubbing.
It's an incredible victory, actually.
Mr. Netanyahu laying on the charm, surprising Donald Trump, nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Demanding the militant group surrender, disarm and leave Gaza, something it will not agree to.
And I think we can work out a peace between us and the entire Middle East with President Trump's leadership.
In a statement posted to X on Thursday, Macron writes, "The urgent priority today is to end the war in Gaza and to bring relief to the civilian population. Peace is possible." The move makes France the biggest and the most powerful country in Europe to recognize.
Macron said he will make the announcement at the United Nations General Assembly next September. 4 other European countries, including Norway, Spain, Ireland, and Slovenia, recognize a Palestinian state. All right, let's cross now live to Hamda Salhout, who's joining us from Amman. She's there because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel and in the occupied West Bank. Hamda, so the French president, Emmanuel Macron, has said that his country will recognize a Palestinian state. Not exactly a surprise. I mean, Macron has been indicating he might do this for a while, but what's the reaction been to that from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu?
He was, not a fan. And, this is bucking a trend in the West. We're seeing France for the first time saying they will recognize a Palestinian state. So that is significant. But for the rest of the world, this is something that is normal. More than 100 countries throughout the world have already recognized a Palestinian state. It's recognized by the United Nations General Assembly. So this is not something that is all that much of a paradigm shift in that regard. But the fact is, for the Western world, this is new, it's novel, and it might have the effect of getting other countries to sign on to the same. The thing is, recognizing a Palestinian state is not the same as having a Palestinian state and actually having it run, having diplomacy with it. That's a totally different thing and a much more complicated effort.
And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu posted on X that a Palestinian state in these conditions would be a launchpad to annihilate Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the move reckless and said it would only serve Hamas propaganda and would set back peace. Following France's announcement, Germany said it has no plans to recognize a Palestinian state in the short term, while calling on Israel to, quote, immediately and drastically improve the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza. The German government sees the recognition of Palestinian statehood as one of the final steps on the path to a two-state solution.
He used to split his time between Berlin and Paris. Thibault, besides the current situation in the Middle East and the terrible plight of the people in Gaza, what has prompted Macron to recognize Palestinian statehood now?
Well, it's been the process for some months now. He announced already in April that he will do that at some stage, and that he will do it even in June with a conference with Saudi Arabia. This had been cancelled because of the military actions between Israel and Iran. And now it's coming to the forefront because I think he's saying there is no chance for a serious peace process, which Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't really accept. Considering this issue where we are now, is saying, well, okay, we will do it in September, and it's a way, I think, also to put France in the forefront for a diplomatic rally, I think.
But does he have any domestic reasons as well?
Well, surely. I mean, it always plays a role, obviously. He's been under pressure from the left-wing parties, in the first place from Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the far left part leader, who has been a strong critic of Israel. But I think also it's a way to respond to a new strategy of the Rassemblement National.
That's the right-wing
populist party, which under its founder, Jean-Marie Le Pen, was actually openly anti-Semitic. And his daughter, Marine Le Pen, changed this policy, making the party actually a very strong ally of Israel in the last few months. And now that's the politics of Benjamin Netanyahu is criticized from left and right mainstream parties. Macron is, I think, trying to take advantage of that within France.
Now, he's definitely the first Western leader to sort of step out of this tacit agreement that two-state solution first, then statehood for the Palestinians.
Let's talk more about the White House. And the president says that he was caught off guard by Israel's latest moves in Gaza as a broader Middle East peace plan may be losing momentum.
Doug, losing momentum now?
Maybe so. The White House says that President Trump is still standing shoulder to shoulder with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but there may be some emerging daylight between them. And he says, well, the nuclear facilities may have been destroyed in that bombing attack. They can eventually be rebuilt, so enrichment can continue. Mike and Alex.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. See you again tomorrow.